So the philosophical part that makes me, maybe psychological, I'll get there, that I do really like about my job is it is taking something that's very complex like cybersecurity and risk and putting it into English for them and giving them like a step-by-step, this is what you need to do. It helps them sleep at night, right?
Yeah.
And like just knowing that they do have an environment and something is going to happen, but we're going to make it small. Like, I mean, these are the things that we say over and over and over again. So yeah, that's why I like it. Is I take something that's very tough for something else, distill it down, and then they can appreciate it and like it and do what they're good at. That's what we also say a bunch too. Is we do work for banks, so you focus on banking. Like, you be a banker, you be a great bank. We'll worry about the risk in cybersecurity.
Welcome to Corporate Caffeine. Our guest today is Heath Stanley. He is a chief security officer and a new entrepreneur, and he is joining Kyle and I to talk about the very strange pathway he's had from going from a finance degree into falling in love with cybersecurity, but also the difference between what it was like to grow someone else's business versus now being on his own entrepreneurial journey and growing his own, and the decisions that every entrepreneur comes across when they are making pivotal choices. It's a lot of fun. He's hilarious. And let's go ahead and dive in. Heath Stanley, so excited to have you on Corporate Caffeine. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a while. I haven't seen you in about a year, I bet.
I bet you're right. It's been 13 months.
Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I think I complimented those same boots.
You know what? I did not have these.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, these are brand new Tacovas. I got them just for this.
I was going to ask that. That was my question. I was like, how do you like them? Because
I saw you keep eyeing them. I was like, he's going to ask.
They're blowing up my feed because they know I happen to look at boots online, and they're all over my feed. And I'm like, I need to talk to somebody who has a pair. Mm-hmm. Are they worth it? What's the pricing? I mean, are they as good as they say they are? So far, yeah. Really? Yeah. I mean, it is a little rainy out here, though, and they're suede, so that's like, it makes them anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they're great. They're comfortable.
Yeah.
You eyed them like 3 or 4 times, like, I know he likes these.
Yeah, I was checking them out. I was like, what brand? Oh, yeah. I got a question for this.
Okay, especially since it is a podcast, you probably need to describe what your boots are.
So,
the audience will not be able to see them.
One of my sons was always wearing my boots, and I know which ones you were talking about. They were the Cayman, the light tan ones. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get him a gift card for Christmas. And he kept wearing my boots. And it was like 3 months later, and I go, Bud, like, what are you doing? He goes, man, these things fit good. I've been looking for them. I can't find them. I go, all right, how about if we trade? All right. Give me the gift card, because I've been eyeballing a new pair of boots myself, and you take these. I just had them resold. And so they were like, new.
Yeah,
you take these. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he wears them all the time. And so, yeah, I broke these in. I call them Trinity Gar. You know, for people who don't know, but you know, the Amazon pass, so forth. But anyway, we didn't. This isn't a boot podcast, even though we might be able. Yeah,
I mean, we're all walking.
We all are wearing boots.
How are these boots going for you, Dave? Yeah.
Well, they have fur on the inside, so they're actually going great for today.
I don't think I've owned a pair of boots with fur, but
there's a rap song about them.
Yeah, apple bottom jeans. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
this podcast is going to be.
Yeah, I know.
This has got to be on video.
Well, right. We were just saying sometimes we have a squirrel, chase a squirrel. I'm like, well, it just started that way.
Exactly. We just jumped straight into it.
Yeah.
Although I do plan on chasing a whole bunch of squirrels today because
I like squirrel chasing.
I know, right? Because I want to talk to you because you've been a part of growing organizations. You've been part of launching your own business. So you've seen a lot of different versions of that. But then on top of that, man, we're in a weird security environment, and that's kind of your main lane. Yeah. But then one other thing, which I did not realize about you that I'm curious about, so we're going to chase all over. He was a finance major. I'm dying to understand how a finance major landed in security and compliance.
It's the finance guy that works at banks but doesn't get to use his finance degree.
Yeah. I was like, that. Most people use the finance degree. They might leave finance eventually, but they
it helps with the personal side of running your own stuff. But Yeah, I kind of always wanted to be in finance, I reckon, but got into cybersecurity, super interested, built a career around it, and if you want to hop careers to something else for finance, you don't have much on your finance resume.
Okay, so how did you get into cybersecurity? I'm just
Sure.
saying, like, that is not necessarily
Literally-
like an evident
Literally
story.
started in the dumpster.
What?
Yeah, so when I got the first big boy job out of college, we were technology auditors, but a part of an offering that we helped scope out was social engineering. This is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And how you find data about entities is hopping in dumpsters and seeing what they're throwing away and passwords and
What?
yeah, we found all sorts of cool stuff. We'd find passwords like on sticky notes, and then try to get into the bank and use those passwords, and that worked a few times. But yeah, I mean, there's cool stories like that of we found literally boxes of private information that banks would just toss in the dumpster instead of shred.
Oh my gosh.
So you were like a private detective.
Ish. I mean, but the banks were paying us to do it. Yeah. They want to
go bust themselves to go shoot holes in our system.
Yeah.
Get
and then
out
so
of
there's
here.
there's those kind of stories of finding like treasure troves.
Yeah.
And then there's the stories of banks that share a dumpster with like a pet grooming place.
Oh God. You're thinking, did I really go to college for this?
Yeah, what am I doing? I know. Well, I only went to Texas Tech, so.
Only. Oh my goodness. There's some people throwing stuff at their screens and our radios.
They're shooting guns at you. Hold on a minute. They aren't throwing anything.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Well, right out of college, I worked for Black & Decker DeWalt, and so I was on high rises, and my first big boy training was demolition hammers. I mean, 2.5 weeks learning how to break things.
That's cool.
And build things. It was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember having steel-toed boots on and a hard hat being like, I went to college for this? Like, what? Like, what? Mm-hmm. This is the weirdest thing. It was
that's
cool,
why
though.
I wanted to go to college, is because I had a job slinging concrete. I was like, slinging concrete in August in Texas.
Ugh,
Yeah.
hard,
Oh, and then the AC
hard.
in my truck broke. I was like, I got to finish my education.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's amazing how certain moments bring things
For
into
sure.
real clarity, and they're not always the big conceptual philosophical ones. They're really specific.
Sometimes it's just you're sweating in your truck. You're like, I cannot do this the rest
I
of my life.
never want to be in this situation again. Yeah, exactly.
So here we are in these fancy digs in Fort Worth.
Yes, that's right.
We've made
Nothing
it.
wrong with that.
I know, exactly. Okay, so since we are on the topic of security, what have you seen change, and what are you seeing happening in the world right now?
So what keeps me up as like a security practitioner at night is not knowing what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
So like we know all the firewalls to harden and passwords to make longer, stuff that you hear about all the time, like don't click links and don't download attachments, but it is constantly evolving. So you don't know what's going to come next. So that's a little bit scary. But what I mean by that is prepare for S to hit the fan.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, make that impact very small and hop on it quickly. And make sure that when you do get hit with something, because something's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to, I guess the example is like you're not going to drive for 80 years of your life and not get in a wreck, right? You're not going to have a cybersecurity footprint or a technology footprint for your business for the whole time it's in operation and not have some sort of event. So you've got to be prepared for it, expect it to happen, and when it does, really clamp down and make sure it's not a big deal.
So when I look into that environment, there's so many aspects of it that feel really overwhelming and complicated. I mean, how do you organize what a company needs? And I mean, where do we even start? Or
that's actually some of the very satisfying and fun parts of what we do, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, come in and tell us what's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Or, like what we need to do. And sometimes it's super simple stuff. Like, an entity like this, for example, you have really great content. You are creating content all the time. Well, you also have really intelligent staff, and they could be recruited somewhere else. It's like, oh, well, I've been working on this great content for here, right? But I'm being wooed by this other marketing firm. I want to take all the stuff that I've made here and use it over there, right?
Yeah.
So how are ways they're going to get it out, right? USBs. So we even start from that. Okay, well, they're going to get data out through USBs. Well, let's turn off USB drives, or at least put it on paper for y'all to consider turning off USB drives. I could see both y'all's anxiety, like, we're not doing that.
Actually, no, I'm fine. Everything is in the cloud. I don't know the last time I used a USB.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like,
I know.
It's fine.
But so you could turn them off, or you could at least track it, right? Say, oh, someone moved data from their computer onto this USB. We know what they moved. And then you can even be told when it's opened up somewhere else, right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, right?
Well, what I like about it and what I didn't really think about is that it's really a practical approach. Like, you're literally going, okay, what business are you in? Mm-hmm. Where are your risks? Where are your unmitigated risks? Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about how people work, how your business works, and what could happen. That's interesting.
A lot of people want to, there are frameworks, and we use frameworks, right? NIST 800-53. It's a great one. That's super boring. It's not made for a podcast like this. Not where you start off talking about boots. But it's like a really great place to start. But what you do is you read the guidelines on there and then have a conversation with the business owners and, business unit folks. Be like, hey, if data did leave on a USB, would it bother you? Do you care? Mm. And if they do, well, then you take action to mitigate it. Right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then I always ask what you started asking me. Like, hey, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
Because business owners know.
Right.
They know what keeps them up at night. And, okay, well, let's take technology action or culture action to fix it.
Yeah. Some guys that you and I both know, I had done podcasts with them previously, and they were making me laugh, but not laugh. It was kind of scary, where they were like, humans are the ones that are your biggest security risks. And, he was telling a story about, the CEO that's had the same password for 25 years, literally for everything. And it's the name of his dog and his wife. And, and he was like, and there's nothing we can do to convince him to change it. And I'm like, wow.
And those are the guys that kind of have to protect them from themselves. Yeah. And that's why you can do things like, at least on his work computer, you have to force him to change his password. It's like, you can't not get around it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the big company that just had to pay a huge lump sum for releasing all the client data? What bank was it? It just happened recently.
Wells has been in trouble before a bunch.
Yeah. So how's something like that happen where it's just a mass data dump of personal information where they don't have it blocked off in chunks?
Well, so when it is that massive like that, it goes back to what you said. It's insider the people threat, right?
Oh yeah.
It's, hey, I've been wronged by this business, or I need to make it a little extra dope. It usually is they've been wronged, and they're trying to get.
It's internal.
Yeah, they're trying to get back at them for something, even though they not feel like they're doing anything wrong, right? Because they've been wronged. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I would not have thought of that.
And there's other studies that are they're a few years old now, but like I think Microsoft did this study. They were saying that an average technology administrator would sell their administrator credentials, so their password and MFA tokens and all like that for $79,000.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And that's or I wouldn't say common, but that's a thing.
No, but if you sat down and was like, hey, I could make think of an ROI on that, right? If you're gonna steal 1 million customer records, it only costs you $79,000 to get it.
Good point.
Oh,
that's a great ROI.
Yeah.
It's better than market.
For whoever's buying it. Yeah, it's direct.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I know, exactly. Well, that's because, like I said, one of the stories on that previous podcast, Mike was mentioning literally sitting in a lobby when he was at the CIA, handing people $100 Starbucks gift cards and just saying, give me your password, you can change it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
that stuff happened.
Thankfully, they were just trying to make a point to these businesses or organizations. This is how easy it is to hack your stuff. But, $100. $100 for 10 minutes to access anything.
But think of the psychologically, of why that works for the person that gets the $100 though, right? It's do they make $100 an hour? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's worth it to them for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It's half a pair of Tacovas.
There you go.
Oh, it's so stressful. Okay, so what's the most gratifying part of being in cybersecurity? Because this is the kind of thing where I really don't think I would sleep at night if I was in this industry all the time. Yes. It would turn me into a mess.
I used to be like that for sure. It was like, oh gosh, just when's it going to happen? But I think what we talked about at the very beginning of just being prepared, like having a plan for when it does happen and expecting it to happen helps a ton. Just like, oh, okay. And I'm preparing the executives that I work with. I tell them that all the time. Hey, something's going to happen. Like, an email is going to be compromised. Someone's going to sell their credentials.
Yeah.
We're just going to get straight up hacked. So preparing those folks to just know that something's going to happen helps.
So you mentioned turning something kind of catastrophic into, basically corralling that catastrophe. Okay, give me examples, right, because so that doesn't seem like, I'm like, wow, how do you just do that?
Okay, so here's a good recent example is I was working with an environment. They had one user have their email compromised. And that email had lots of sensitive data in it, right? Including, private consumer information about the business itself, some like financials, employee records, those sort of things. So it's a treasure trove of data. But we have, I don't say we have tools since we're more on the consulting side, but we consulted to have tools in place that would identify that something like that is going on quickly, or like a rule has changed. It's called an indicator of compromise. So we were alerted on this indicator of compromise, and we knew that email inbox was compromised like within an hour.
Wow.
So we were able to shut it down, change passwords, make sure that data was not exfiltrated out of that inbox, right? So if the bad guy would have had, sorry, I have a 5-year-old, he's bad guy a lot. If the bad guy,
that's what they are.
If the bad guy would have had access to it for days and weeks or months, right? We would have had to tell every consumer that had data in their inbox that their data was compromised. But since it was within an hour and we were able to shut them out and get them out of there, we didn't have to tell anybody because we knew that no data was compromised.
Yeah.
Wow.
So while the event happened, it's a bummer and it cost us money to fix it, but not nearly as bad as having to tell every customer that their data had been compromised.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the stories, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the gratifying stuff.
Yeah.
God, it gives me little chills right now. Just like we don't know how much money we saved by that, but it was a lot.
Kidding.
The FBI says for every consumer record that is compromised, you can expect it to cost you about $300.
Really?
Mm-hmm. The cost to do the investigation, to send out the mailers, the reputational loss.
Wow.
Yeah, the legal consultation.
I was thinking the reputation loss, or what your clients are going to trust you with down the road, whatever that may be. There's not a price tag on that.
And where we're at with, I guess maybe it's a commentary on society right now, but y'all have gotten notices from your bank probably, in the past couple of years. Hey, we've had a compromise. Your data's been compromised, right?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do with it?
Threw it in the trash.
Exactly. You were desensitized to it.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. So you do take a reputational hit, but it's more business to businesses that take the reputational hit, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to do, or me as business owner XYZ, I'm not going to do business with that, marketing firm. It's a bad example, but they lost my data, right?
Yeah.
Or they had data of mine that I did not compromise. Well, I'm not going to use them anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So the business or the reputation is way bigger on business to business events than it is business to consumer because we're all so desensitized to it.
Oh, I can see that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I know. It's interesting though. I think there is even on the consumer side, I would assume that there's a dark halo effect on that kind of stuff though. So me not being a security person, I have a tendency to lump those, your information was made, we had a security issue, and your information was included. I have a tendency to lump that alongside of all the privacy data stuff. Mm-hmm. And, it's starting to become just this digital murk And like you said, it's desensitized, but then I have a tendency to be like, oh, all of those brands, like they all have issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think that there's kind of this weird dark halo effect, like the more that stuff goes out.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, Walmart, they've all had events, right, that have compromised data, but they're so ingrained in us, we're not going to stop using them.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that they're not incentivized to protect our data. It's just that it's not this giant priority like it should be, because some of them are a little too big to feel like. We talked earlier about wells. Like in some instances, you don't even have the option to not use wells, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Get a mortgage, community bank. What's that community bank going to do? They're going to sell that mortgage to wells.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Or I laugh at people too that I shouldn't say laugh. I try to educate them on it. Like, oh, I don't keep any of my data on the cloud. I don't keep my, I take a picture and it stays on my phone. It's not going up to the cloud. It's like, okay, well, yeah, it's shocking. I need that backed up. But it's like, oh, well, I don't have it. My social security number is not out there on the cloud anywhere. It's not going in. Well, do you have an account with Bank of America or Chase? Well, where do you think they keep your account information?
Yeah.
So it's impossible to not.
That's a great point, because you assume if I'm being responsible with my stuff, whatever responsible is, in our own minds. Oh my gosh, yeah, there's a million times that you've given it out because you were required to.
IRS.
Yeah. I know. Gosh, it's tax season too. That's going to make me nervous.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I think one of the other things too that surprised me is somebody was mentioning that, hackers and these, people, it's their day job. I mean, there are these massive buildings overseas with thousands of people, and they go in and they're paid to do it, and they go home to their families. And that was the weirdest mind bend moment for me, where I was like, that's right. It's an industry to cause issues. It's not a few little hackers, in a basement over here. Like, it's this thing, these structured organizations. I'm like, oh my God.
And there's, so ransomware, still very popular. We don't talk about it a ton anymore, but, it's still a thing. And there are ransomware actors right now that when your data is encrypted on your hard drive or your computer, there's a phone number and email address and website when your data starts to get encrypted. It says, if you need help setting up a Bitcoin wallet or a wallet to help us, pay us in crypto to get your data back, the data center that you call to help with that is Better Business Bureau rated AAA. Like the data center that you call is like this excellent organization. And, it's like these bad actors have done their due diligence to select a really good, a really good call center. I know. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's like some of the other stuff, but it's still funny. In this data center, like in some instances, they don't, or the call center, they don't know that that's what they're doing, right?
Right. Good point. I never even thought about they don't know. They're just doing they're reading the script and doing the things that they're being paid to do. Oh, wow. That is crazy.
Hey, one reason we had you on, not only that you know a lot about this, but you launched your own business.
Yeah.
Like, how's that going? Like,
going
since I've seen you last,
sometimes
we know what it's like. It's
sometimes you launch and sometimes you get pushed.
Yeah.
It's going great. It's so exhilarating. I still have that entrepreneurial buzz.
Yeah. Do you have a partner, by the way?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're 50-50. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wouldn't have done it without a partner.
Really?
No, wouldn't have had the guts to do it.
What part of running does he take a certain part of the business and have your own roles, or you just wanted to have things to bounce ideas off of?
It's more of that. It's more. It's a lot of if I fall down, I have somebody to help pick me up.
Yeah.
And vice versa. We're both really good at what we do. I think he's a better security officer than me, so that helps. Like, I think we're both subject matter experts in it. And I like him.
That's a big deal.
Having a finance background degree really helps. I don't know his, but
it does. But yeah, it's something about going into business with you trust, or someone that you trust and you're excited to be around, and We'll probably grab a drink after this, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. It's so awesome. So I'm going to flip that over to you because you had a partner when you launched a business a long time ago.
Yeah,
then
my best friend. Yeah,
that did not go well.
Yeah,
I mean, then you've watched me. I mean, you've been my emotional partner before you were physically in the business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you've seen a couple different iterations in our family and in your business life. Like, what's your perspective on that? Because I love hearing that it's going so good.
Well, it's also
but it's always made me really nervous.
Yeah.
You know, to have a partner.
We might still be in the honeymoon stage too, so that's fine.
You know, I was young when I had a partner, and I have a strong personality. He did too. And it was one of those things is we didn't really identify our roles in the business. We kind of shared a lot of roles.
Oh, that's a good insight.
And maturity came into play with why it did.
Let me ask you this:
fell apart,
if you would have done the exact same thing, but where you're at with your career and business and knowledge and mindset now, would that entity in your partnership, would that have gone way different?
The relationship would have. I'd be friends with him now still.
Oh man,
I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Would we still been running that business? I doubt. We would have definitely had to transition into something else. I was in oil and gas transportation, and and it took a nosedive back in 2000.
Well, but that's not why the partnership went south.
It went south before that.
That was after we got out. So
I don't know how it would have played out, but the relationship would have been different. Yeah,
I can appreciate that, and that's good advice for me too because we do share a lot of roles.
Yeah,
but I think what we're learning, it's like when we do disagree on something, seek counsel, or like even the things that we are not. I mean, we are subject matter experts in cybersecurity. We're trying to become subject matter experts in running a small business,
right?
But like, finances, for example, have finance degree. It's a terrible term. Well, I should say accounting. Finance degree. But our accounting, it's like, we'll let it get out of whack for too long and not pay enough attention to it. It's like, oh, well, we're not paying enough attention to that. Let's get that to a subject matter expert, right?
Yes.
So, get bookkeeping away from us.
Yeah.
Get marketing away from us because, it's not a passion of ours.
Yeah, there are things you definitely have to delegate.
Yeah, for sure.
And no, you can't wear all the hats.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Even with two people, the more you grow, the more you're going to have to fine tune those other roles in different ways. That's how I'm a partner with her now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're married and I heard all about the business since it started. I didn't have much to do with it.
It was super different, very different. You being on the outside of the business versus you being on the inside, where we have shared responsibility and arguments, like healthy, around decisions and how we're growing the business and the consequences of our decisions. And before, he would give me advice or opinions, but it was external, and I would had a tendency to just go,
"But you don't know.
He doesn't really understand."
Yeah, for sure.
And so I was in my own echo chamber. And I think for me, one of the dangers of that, I mean, I love to read. I mean, I seek wise counsel, their peer group and, this, that, and the other. But man, the first couple years learning everything the hard way, like just all the blind spots, like, and the worst is what you don't know, and so
maybe that could be the title of this one.
Oh my gosh. Right. But learning about cash flow and projections. I mean, like I had to have a dangerous dip in order to figure out how to do that in a healthy way, how to bring in a fractional CFO, in order to kind of educate me up. And then he comes in 5 minutes, because it's his natural gifting to just be like, what? Why was this hard for you? Just cleaned everything up, but there was just so many things that were hard won being in it by myself versus somebody going, hey, this doesn't look right. I mean, I couldn't see it. And, when he was on the outside, he could hear things that made him nervous, but he didn't really see it either, because he wasn't on the inside and didn't see it day to day.
You definitely have to set time aside to be honest with each other and go, all right, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. And I want you to punch holes in it without jumping the gun and making the decision before they even say anything.
That's a great point.
It's not being married. It's going to be that way the more you work together, being a partner, because they're going to want a whole lot of say so and everything, and you will too, and it's rightfully so. I mean, you guys are in the same boat, you know, and to be like, all right, we're going to discuss this. Like, let me say what I need to say, shoot holes in it, and be humble about it, because you need to, you know, and listen. You know, there's a reason they'll be opinionated or honest with you. And when we realized that and put like a time limit to that discussion, you know, where it didn't get out of hand or anything like that, it kind of changed the game.
Yeah, it's trusting
how we
somebody
operated,
and then just having a natural devil's advocate, you know, mindset.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's like,
that is huge.
I'm here to, you know, these are all my observations. Take them or leave them. But you still got to be cool about it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So, did you ever hear or read the book Small Giants?
Mm-mm.
So there was a story about this company where there were 3 equal founders, owners, partners in this one company. And when they disagreed, they would literally not make a decision until they were in 100% agreement. And so sometimes they would literally,
exhausting.
I know, and they would literally 100% with all 3 of them too.
You figured that would lead to stagnation.
Yeah.
They had stories. No, they had stories where they locked themselves in a room and would pray and argue until they came to a unanimous agreement. Pray and argue together.
That gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
Oh my
If you have
God.
a time limit
Talk
on
about
it,
intense.
I can see how that could work. But there's
I
some
don't know.
decision you need to sleep on and wake
For
up
sure.
tomorrow and
I
go,
agree
okay.
with that. The more tired I get, the more stubborn and angry I'm going to get.
I'm the opposite.
Oh, really?
I'm the opposite. Yeah, if you would lock us in this room and be like, hey, you cannot leave till you agree 100% on this, at some point I would just be like, I want to go get a sandwich. Like, let me out of here.
You can have whatever you
See,
want.
whatever you want.
To me, that's not 100% though. That's like
No, it's not.
It's like, all right,
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to squash your small giant stuff. But
No,
that's
that's
the way I
why I
feel
brought
about
it
it
up
right now.
because I had the same reaction. I was reading this
good
being
enough.
like, what? Holy cow. I don't know how I feel
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, good for them that they could be, I guess, that diligent enough with each other
Yeah, I know.
to be like that.
Now, I would imagine they've owned businesses before or something.
Yeah, I can't
There's
remember.
No way
I think
they just
so.
started it 3 guys and decided this is how we're going to
Sure.
operate.
Yeah, I know.
If so, good for them.
Yeah, right? I know. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know the background.
So what's your
on it.
wife say about you going off on your own?
Oh my
and-
gosh, she was supremely supportive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, similar to what I said about business partner earlier. Don't know if I would have done it without, you know, going into business with a partner.
Mhm.
If she wouldn't have been as on board with it as she was, then wouldn't have done either.
Really?
I can completely relate to that. Had he not been the huge vocal supporter of go, the idea is worthy, you can do this, I believe in you. I mean, I never would have had the courage to do it, let alone the resilience to keep going.
Resilience,
really
and then
hard.
you know, making it successful too, right? Like part of it is the support that she gave. Like, yeah, go do it. This can be awesome. But then, you know, it's not always 100% awesome. I mean, it's been really great. Not gonna lie. Like, not everybody has this story.
This quick.
Yeah, this. Quick.
I mean,
yeah, but
wow.
What was it? Oh yeah, it's the ongoing supportiveness too, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, oh well, we'll figure it out. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of the opposite, it's like, hey, figure that S out. Right? It's, hey, we will do it. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know?
There was one point in the 9 years that we had a timeline where things weren't going good, where we're like, all right, if it doesn't get better, we're just going to have to cut it off sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had a timeline on it. And then we didn't get to that point.
Yeah.
You know, and
I guess it's super exciting that you didn't get to the
and
timeline.
so we go through that whole deal, and it humbled us and made us rethink and just reorganize and build it back up. And we're like, all right, now we're all in now.
Do you know, that is a funny story too. That was a life-changing moment. It wasn't really an argument, but like a conflict moment for me. So we were sitting in our backyard at the time at this big picnic table, probably having a beer, like, and just being like, oh my God, what is going on? I know, imagine that. And Kyle says, okay, let's just run worst case scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I am uber optimist. I am, Pollyanna. I don't have space in my brain.
Worst case scenario guy?
Oh, I lay it out there always of going, what's the worst case scenario? And my thing is, though, is to be positive about it, going, you can always go back to what you were doing. You can always, we've been in way worse financial trouble, or this, that, and the other. So what's the worst case scenario?
So
Be like,
yeah,
we cash out, we're still fine.
Sure.
We still got a house over our head or whatever. That kind of worst case
We can
scenario.
still afford these Michelob Ultras.
I'm not like, what if this happens? Oh my God. I'm not that.
No, you're not Chicken Little. But that's a good point, is that the worst case scenario calms him down. Where he kind of, it gives him perspective where he's like, listen, literal worst case scenario, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we're still good.
Yeah.
And he's like, we will still have the house. We are still in the backyard. We're still drinking Michelob Ultra. And so it calms him down. It gives him perspective. And at the time, even just a crack or crevice of potential failure and an acknowledgement that failure could be a reasonable outcome, I would come unglued. I mean, literally, like, my body parts would just not even be connecting. I mean, just mushy puddle. Yeah. But he was like, we have to do this. Sit down. We're going to have this conversation. But it was a game changer in my head in regards to the fear was not facing up to my fear.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just this big black hole. And when it was like, okay, just walk towards it, all of a sudden it dissipated and there was light on all of the decisions and it wasn't comfortable. Yeah. And I wasn't like, yee, this is so fun. But it wasn't awful. Yeah. It didn't kill me like I thought it would, just considering it.
I'm so glad that you were able to change your perspective around like that, because going through life the way you were before, that sounds flipping exhausting.
It is exhausting. Actually, I mean, that's a really good point. But it was a game changer for me.
That also reminds me of this. I may butcher this, but I want to say it was 2008, 2009. Tony Romo had lost a playoff game.
Shocker.
Yeah. Name the ones he's won. Exactly. Right. Now we can narrow it down.
There's only three of them.
3 would be a lot.
Yeah. I know, right? Exactly.
And he was on the podium after the game, and he said, "Well, if this is the worst thing that ever happens to me, I've still had a pretty good life." And that made a lot of people mad.
I remember that.
And people are still, Dallas media people are still angry about it. But I connected with it. I was like, he said what you just said. Man, I lost a playoff game. I'm still a millionaire.
Yeah.
I've got a happy family.
Yeah.
I've got my health.
Yeah.
I'm super famous. He was probably dating Jessica Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
He put it in perspective when us as fans didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
That was a godly thing to do, and that was what was going through his mind. But being a fan,
that's not what you want to hear.
You need to keep to yourself. There's some things you don't even tell your teammates, and that's probably one of them.
Probably.
Because you got to have that grit, oh my God, I feel so disappointed we lost. Yeah. And he did kind of walk up there going, it's okay.
That's true. Maybe he thought he was being super vulnerable.
Yeah.
Hey, this
humble. Oh man, I'm so fortunate to have this opportunity, blah, blah, blah. We get it. We get it.
The media trainer took him aside right after that. Let's have a talk.
Let's hear tones.
Yeah. If you're playing in Cleveland, maybe.
Right, for sure.
Not a Cowboy,
Do you think the Cowboys have a media trainer? I mean, surely they do, but does he ever get any time with Jerry Jones?
Definitely not.
No. Jerry hires.
I guarantee they have one. He's just not allowed on that floor.
No, I've talked to Jerry.
To go back, though, just real quick, it was it opened her eyes when we had to make those changes. It was these changes are going to be hard, but if we don't make them, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And it was just all right, transition on. And then she just got super hyper-focused and said, I need to start running a business now, along with running, being a marketer.
Yeah.
And,
oh, that's a good way of saying it. I'm a marketer and a business owner.
And a business owner.
And it's different. Just because you're great at something doesn't mean it naturally comes together in the form of a really great business. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but I think you have to in order to go, okay, there's this whole area that I now need to go get some information and skill set around.
That's some of the stuff that we're talking about right now. And you talked about scaling, and that's where we're at. Do we hire? Do we not hire? Do we want to go launch and get a bunch of clients right now, or do we just want to peel back and grow slowly? Those are the really cool business conversations we're getting to have right now. And part of it is what you just said is do I want to be more chief information security officer guy, or do I want to be more business owner guy?
Yeah.
And I don't know really.
Yeah.
I want it all, and I want it all.
It's your integrity when you get all these clients and you have to start hiring people to go do the work.
For sure.
And you're going, oh no, is my process dialed in to where they know exactly how I do things? Because if it's not,
right,
I can't scale it. I'm going to lose. I'm going to be always fighting that client churn. I'm always going to be fighting that. But if I get it right to begin with, then what could I create and how fast?
Yeah, that's really well said. And you've probably struggled with this, Dacia. Is like when you're creating content, it's really good, and when you're creating content for your clients, you think that they're not going to get any other better content because you created it. Well, I feel a little bit like that too. It's like, oh well, I know this client. I have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
I don't want to pass them off to someone. Doesn't matter who else they are.
Yeah.
But it's, I've created a relationship. I understand their environment. I understand what they need, what they want, and still thinking that, or knowing that they deserve that, but also wanting to have more of those clients. It's a strange place to be.
Yeah.
It's not accounting. It's not finance.
No.
where it is a very defined process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That art and science, there's a combination of intuition and experience and frameworks and all of the things. I know. Exactly. Well, and sometimes it's like those moments are surprising for me, like letting go of weird client moments. So I'm blessed to have a team that is by and large way smarter than me. And so that's been really gratifying.
I guess I'm not part of that team. Jeez.
Is your name by and large? Like, who knew? Like, nice to meet you. Obviously, you're way smarter than me. My gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know. I looked at him from the other side too. I was like, he's not part of that one. You just sit up there and look pretty.
That's right.
Hey, no. The finance stuff does not come natural to me. Like, we'll just leave it at that. So what he's turned around has been amazing. But that's been, those moments are hard.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear you say that because there's things about your job and that you don't want to always have to do forever, right?
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I'd like to offload.
Well, I think one of the things that's so surprising to me is when I finally got to a point where what I was delivering and what I was seeing, I really did realize, like, wow, I'm good at this. And even compared to other people, and I know that sounds arrogant, but it's not, where I could, in integrity, go, oh my gosh, like, look how far I've come, is almost the exact time it was time for me to stop being the doer. And it was the hardest thing to be like, wait, so you get to a place where you kind of have your mastery and then you give it away. Like, it's the weirdest thing.
Did you not want to do that anymore though?
So I was starting and continue. Yeah, I was starting to be like, I'm getting burned out more and more on certain things. Like one of the symptoms for me was impatience. And I am a somewhat impatient person. Most people wouldn't realize that on the front end he does. But I move at lightning speed around things. So like a lot of times I'm like, okay, how long is it going to take for you to catch up with me? And so common scenarios with new clients, I started losing the ability to plug in on the education, to put the processes in place that help them get there and build decision. Like I was wanting to just fast forward because I knew what they needed. And that's actually exactly opposite of like how we're really good to people and like what I'm proud of with the company. And so, and I was looking around, our team was doing it better.
I know what we need to get to.
Yeah,
but you're not educating your client base to get them there. And then when you do get there, they're maybe unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Because you did skip the steps.
That's exactly right. And once I still have a couple clients that have been with me for a long time and have not figured out how I want to transition those, someday.
They're her babies.
I know. It's so
you
hard.
Have those certain clients where you're like, they don't want her to go either. One of them's been with me
for 6 years and then 6 years before that company. It's a long time.
Well, you like them and they like you. And
Yeah, exactly. But taking a step back, I'm able to now advocate for the client, and I had lost that. So that interesting, now I'm very hypersensitive to the client experience and how do we really become servant leaders for them? And that's been really gratifying because it returned big time, but I had to get out of the work to do it. Sure. Well, you, getting out of the oil field was really hard for you because you missed being good at that. You missed with the
oh yeah. That's all I knew for 9 years, I guess, it just, there's a saying, once it gets in your blood, once you dream about it, you're hooked. And then, I'd have dreams about doing it, and I'm like, man, who told me that? And then all of a sudden, when it was like me getting out, I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm just used to this routine, used to the chaotic schedule, the brotherhood you have out there, anything goes. You don't look at it. I didn't look at it as a job.
Yeah, it's just what you did.
It's just what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. You can almost relate how an athlete, back to a football player or whatever, where you're like, Tom Brady's going through that right now.
Sure.
Of like,
what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? Even though he's older, relative, like he could do anything he wants.
But that's a good example. It's like we really could almost all do what we want. She's like, do we want to do that?
Yeah.
If she wasn't focused so much on the business, this is what I was going to bring up. She would love just to work with those clients and be totally content with it. If she could go speak, she does love speaking too.
Sure.
That's like her thing. Like long term, she'll never retire if she can go on stage and make it happen and get that feedback.
Are you agreeing with that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about it. Like, if you're retired, what's that look like? She's speaking. Like that's her retirement.
And it doesn't feel like work.
Loves it. Yeah. But there are a certain few of those clients too that she would go, oh yeah, I'd probably work with them forever if this is all I had to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a cool place to be in your career.
Yeah.
One thing that that I moved away from a few years ago now, but there's like it's called FIRE, Financial Independent Retire Early.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I got really into it for a minute, but I think that started to settle in. It's like, oh man, I never fully got there, but I was on pace, and oh man, I'm going to be able to retire. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
It's like I could still go golf. Like that'd be awesome, but
yeah.
Like,
how
is that what
much?
Yeah.
Like not every day.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, you weren't golfing.
No,
it was rainy, cold.
I know.
Not even today. It's cold.
I would have got my fancy golf shoes all yucky. Yeah. I would have had to clean off the clubs too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
well, you'll notice another thing. When we were younger, we were like, man, we could retire when we hit a certain goal in life, financially or whatever. And the more you go down that road, you'll start changing that goal.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And you'll live a different lifestyle, and you'll look at things different, and you'll meet different groups of people, different circles, where you're like, oh wow, I didn't know this is how people live.
Yeah.
Like on this, I don't know how you grew up or anything,
levels your goals.
but it does. You'll go, a little behind the game, it looks like. What was I thinking 20 years ago?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I thought that I don't know if it's like full imposter syndrome, but maybe this is a lot about perspective. But I never thought, a kid growing up and going to Texas Tech, like this would be where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Like oh man, but now that I am here, it's like, oh, I can do this and it's awesome and do more.
Yeah.
That's so gratifying.
It really is.
So, you, and I'm going to butcher the exact number, you can correct me, but you were with an organization and you helped triple the size that they were?
Oh man. At least I was there a long time.
Yeah.
Probably 5X.
So, it was huge, huge growth, even for the length of time you were there. That was big growth. So looking back, you saw all the evolutions and phases of a growing company and what happens, what's been different about launching your own company? And talk to me a little bit about kind of what you learned along that journey.
Since,
being an employee versus owning it, but you're doing the same type of work.
Yeah. So the work is the work.
Yeah.
But it's trying to decide. Maybe a lot of it for me is the people, right? It's like I like having people around me that are professionals and subject matter experts and stuff. But if I can't manage them properly, that gives me anxiety. And give them enough time and attention to mentor them and grow them. So that's part of the stuff that I'm trying to figure out right now, right? It's like before when I was, hey, take this person and grow them and mentor them. Or if I just liked them, I'd put time and effort and energy into it. But, now I'm a business owner. I don't know if that's how I feel about it, right? Managing people is tough.
It is tough.
Even if you really like them or even love them, it's still tough.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
one you were doing before versus how big do you want to grow? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
do you have time to met 5 at once? Whatever that
Right.
number may be, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough time in the day.
There's not enough time in the day, and you want the best for that person, that group of people too.
Yes.
Right? So I with where we're at right now, I don't feel like I would do those folks service of like bringing them on and like being able to let them be successful at their job or what I would want to be them, successful at, right?
Yep.
So you started off by asking, like, okay, so before I was told, hey, bring these people on, make them great. And now I just get to decide if I want to bring them on and make them great.
Well, and it's such a great point. I mean, and I love that there's a lot of intention paid to that, because I have seen so frequently, people are like, bring them on and just go do the thing.
Yeah.
And
I've been very guilty of that before.
Yeah, me too. And so it's like, when you're busy and you're trying to pay this person a good salary and, they have experience, and you don't realize like, there's still a lot of support that needs to go behind, that
sure.
no matter how talented somebody is, and it's a hard lesson to learn, and it's an opportunity cost. So what are you going to trade in order to be able to support that person, because you have to give something up.
You can think you know what they know, but you don't know what they don't know.
No.
Isn't
that true?
makes sense.
No, that's right.
And you'll go longer and you go, oh no, if I would have just stated that in month 3 and not 8 months down the road, it might have been a lot smoother.
Or to me, I'm like process and efficiency guy, and I'll go back and like, this is how you're doing it. Okay. I appreciate that, and it works for you, but that's like really inefficient. So, so let's clean that up.
Yeah,
well, that's being a good leader, though.
That's true.
That's
true.
Identifying that, having I wouldn't call it the guts, but you're in that role for a reason. But
sure,
the strength to go, hey, look, this is how this should be done. It will help you in the long run. Just learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm just going to chase the squirrel for a quick second. Process and efficiency guy, finance background, security. I mean, so many things about your business life and your career are locked down. I mean, like, these are structured
I'm glad you feel they're locked down.
environments. But I mean, like, you're paid to help do that. Okay. Where do you blow off the steam? Like, is everything in your life, like, are your hobbies super structured too?
Oh, maybe, because
Or,
I like golf. Golf's pretty structured.
Yeah, it is. Totally.
Is your closet organized? Let's start there. Everyone lets something fall apart.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah. Jordan Peterson doesn't.
Yeah,
anyway.
right.
But it took him a long time to do that. Anyway.
So we talked earlier about outsourcing stuff. I have a wife that keeps that closet in line. She does great at it. But yeah, I mean, I guess the unstructured stuff is time with friends.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's fun. I just got done with Beast Feast last Thursday.
What is that?
Yeah, I know. We bring our own meats. We're supposed to kill them, but we don't get to hunt as much as we used to anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But whatever beasts
Like
that you killed,
off.
we smoke them.
And
drink and have fun, and
yeah,
and it's just like 4 or 5 of us.
Same 4 or 5 guys.
Oh yeah, every time.
I've got
amazing.
3 the go-tos.
Yeah,
and it's like, all right,
this is us. We are in our zone,
and no one can break into. I mean, you can come hang out for a little while, but it's like anything can be said in front of us. We've known each other a long time, and we're like, how do you guys function during the week? That because they've got real good, they're
it's very
real
therapeutic.
Yeah,
and it's fun.
And it's our decompress of all right, everything's gone at this moment.
It's so funny. Every so often, the wives are invited because
they're friends.
They actually all like us, and we like them, and
it's
all the spouses. The marriages are healthy, so it's all good. But it's so funny because it's literally still the scenario where it's like, well, you guys can come. You just have to stay on your side of the room. And we're like, it totally is. Like, how old are we? But then that's it. I mean, we all just got to go our separate ways. So I don't even know why.
We should flip the locks to the house so where we can lock you in it while we're outside.
Put a doorbell like a ring, but it goes up to the outside.
Here they come. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, totally. Totally. So, as you think on your leadership journey and your entrepreneurship journey, and you work with so many organizations in their vulnerability. So, you hear a lot about what, like you said, keeps them up at night. For you, if you take a big step back, and whether you call it spiritual or emotional, but what do you wish for these people, or what do you see happening?
So the philosophical part that makes me maybe psychological. See, I'll get there. That I do really like about my job is it is taking something that's very complex like cybersecurity and risk, and putting it into English for them and giving them like step by step. This is what you need to do. It helps them sleep at night, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing that they do have an environment and something is going to happen, but we're going to make it small. These are the things that we say over and over and over again. So yeah, that's why I like it. Is I take something that's very tough for something else, distill it down, and then they can appreciate it and like it and do what they're good at. That's what we also say a bunch too. Is we do work for banks, so you focus on banking. You be a banker, you be a great bank. We'll worry about the risk in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you find these clients? Is it one of those deals? I'm sure there's different ways, but did they have a breach at one time and go, oh my gosh, we got to get a
There's been
consultant?
plenty of those.
Oh, really? Where it's already hit the fan, they're hotlining you.
Yeah.
Get in here. I've heard about you. Come fix it.
Yeah, right now it's pretty organic, which is great.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is also pressure from the other businesses and entities that they are working with. And that's where we get business from legal entities and legal firms. Banks are highly regulated, and banks have to have attorneys and law firms. So banks, do these due diligence and assessments on law firms, and it does not go well for the law firm.
Yeah.
We need help, and they find us.
Wow.
Yeah. Doctor's office also, or is that a thing? I don't.
No, this is like a therapeutic session because we cannot figure out how to get doctors to think that way.
Wow, they have got all that information.
They do. They've got more than banks. And, the part of the business reason for doctors of not engaging with business units like us or businesses like us as much is a HIPAA fine violation is way less expensive than us.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
So they're not incentivized to use someone like us.
And doctors are notoriously bad business people.
Right.
No, really, there's just so many statistics around, there's no business school in the middle of medical school. And so and there's so many conglomerates now that they're more employees than business owners. So,
okay, well, here's my shameless tech plug then, because you can get a PhD and MBA at Tech at the same time.
Wow.
Pretty cool. I know. More people need to go that route.
There you go.
Yeah.
I know.
Talk about smart people.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so if people are going to connect with you, where would they find you at?
Golf course.
How much golf do you play? Yeah.
No, not as much as I want, but it is top of mind if you can't tell. I haven't played in a couple weeks, so that's probably why I can't make that.
Oh, yeah.
LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah.
The Lane Cyber.
Oh, no, he was like,
LinkedIn.
We're getting there. Yeah. We'll be getting some services from Daisy at some point. But yeah, that's probably part of what I want to talk about y'all here today is I've read Corporate Caffeine and I'm digesting it and I appreciate it. But part of what we've talked about here today is scaling and all that. I don't know how much time and effort and energy I want to put into marketing with something that's going really well right now.
100%.
So I got some really good advice from you at one point. It was hey, keep a pipeline full so when you're ready. So that's other decisions that we're trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I have a projection sheet that rolls out, 6 months down the road. And you're a finance guy. Well, anyways, and I just kept plugging away where I'm like, all right, you need to hire a person here, here. As long as your leads match your our close ratio.
Are you good at forecasting like that? Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Last year was the first year that she goes, what's our
amazing.
target number? And I hit it within 0.5%.
Less than that.
And it was kind of
That's super
lucky.
impressive.
It was lucky.
Super impressive.
Yeah, I know.
Do it again next year, then it'll be super impressive.
Then I can
Yes,
go,
that's true.
hey, wait a minute, I was born for this.
Popping that collar.
Yeah, I know. Because we haven't, I guess we haven't operated the business in the structure we have for only about 3.5 years.
Yeah, about that.
Is where you've identified exactly what you're good at, started marketing
And our processes and our delivery methods.
Scalability, all those things about 3.5 years ago is when it all really, really started.
Yeah, which
and so
then...
that's not a long time. That's not a lot of data to have
Sure.
to be able to do these things. But it's like, and you're going to live and learn, blah, blah, blah.
For sure.
It is something that you have to look at besides, I need 3 people tomorrow. And then you're like,
Oh my gosh.
no, my cash just ran out
Yeah.
in 6 weeks. Why did I do that for?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. Like, we were talking to a prospective client the other day, and oh my gosh, this guy was just cool. Like, attitude, philosophy, third generation, just the company really functioned with a high level of integrity, and he has this high level of curiosity. So just really fun conversation.
I appreciate that, even though I'm sitting right
That's right, exactly. And but he's at a crossroads where he needs to make some critical business decisions, and and we did say to him, and just straightforward, this is how to know if it's time to work with us or not. Like, and either way is fine,
Sure.
but do not move forward with us yet unless you know A, B, and C are going to be true, But it was very gratifying to talk with someone, that wanted to hear that and, was being just really thoughtful. And so it's really important. I mean, marketing's not supposed to be limited. It should be about everything.
And I feel the same way
for.
in the conversations I've had with potential clients too. It's like, hey, I can talk to them for an hour and find like a dozen things in their environment they need to button up. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to come in and want you to do. If you can't handle that culturally or don't want to do it for your business, we can't be dancing partners.
Yeah, exactly.
She's had to tell people no before because, they'll go through discovery call. And I remember this one, we knew him, or it's been a while ago. And she's like, everything's going too well for you.
Oh,
Literally.
Yeah, I remember.
And you're like,
this.
You're not going to take us serious enough for us to make a difference that we can create for you. Don't waste the money.
No pain, no change. They were hungry enough.
We know we won't be there long. If it was written in black and white, it'd have been like, you guys are killing it. You don't need us to do marketing right now.
Yeah, it was a crazy situation. They were.
Was it weird for you to say that as a business owner? Somebody that just wants to, gobble up as many clients.
It was, but the alarm bells were going off in my head so bad, and we pride ourselves in telling the truth early and often, even to our clients. We're non-clients, and and I kept thinking, this is a perfect client for us. Like, I know exactly how to help them achieve their goals. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could see it, but something on the call, I'm like, something, itch I can't scratch. Like, what is going on here? And I all of a sudden realized, I'm like, they are on their sailboats every weekend. They are smiling and waving.
Yeah.
They have crushed it. And so they were coming to us being like, we should be way bigger.
Double crushing it.
Yeah, they were. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're not going to want to do what it'll take to get, and it's funny because some people are so frustrated by the fact they haven't fulfilled their potential, and it doesn't matter how many sailboats they have, they will do anything to prove that thing, like that big, huge number, is real. And then there's other guys that are like, I bet we could hit that. I don't know. But this is pretty good. If we get there,
that's the sailboat I'm on. It's like, it's pretty good right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the sailboat they were on. And I had to say it. I was like, okay, here's what a mistake, like, and I was right. And we were made friends and they referred us,
Sure.
We didn't get the business because obviously.
Because they didn't need it.
Exactly. And so what could have been, but doesn't matter. They didn't want it. So, it wasn't where they were. So.
Good place to be.
I know, exactly. So what advice would you give to people? And that you can take that question whichever direction you want to.
Brush your teeth, say your prayers.
Yes.
Pretty simple.
That's a pretty solid start.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. That's so open ended.
I know, exactly. Well, hey, we can throw it at Kyle and give you a second to
Okay.
process. All right, Kyle.
It always gets thrown at me.
I know.
I've given this answer before. Anyone can go rewind it and goes, that ain't the same answer he gave. Like, he's not giving the same
Well, it changes
advice.
every day.
It does change all the time.
Exactly.
Gotta always evolve.
Yes. Okay, so what has your answer evolved to?
What advice would I give people?
Okay, here, I'll tell you what my 23 one is, right?
Yeah.
This is like deep heat stuff, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to make other people happy because I'm not responsible for their happiness.
That's a big one.
Yeah, see?
That's good.
See?
Did you have that characteristic in you before?
Oh, yeah,
Were you a
people pleaser for sure.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm getting so much better.
Yeah, we've
But
empathized
it's
over
funny.
this before.
Yes, we have.
I'm not responsible for other people's happiness.
She's been a hard ass lately. Big time.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because she don't want to make anybody happy anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't say
we're
that you
going-
were bad.
and done. No.
Yeah, we're like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, what happened there?
No, I'm growing. I mean, I think I finally
Yeah.
realized I want people to be their best selves more than I want them to like me. And that is hard
Yeah.
one. That is hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really struggle with that one, but it's true. Like, I want them to grow and flourish and step into everything that they're capable of, even if that means I have to be like, you know, the weirdest thing is that I've never had an issue giving my boys like a kick in the butt. Like, the people pleasing did not come out in my motherhood, like, not at all. Like, they would be laughing right now to be like, yeah, she's a hard ass. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep. But I like that one. I think that's good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I know.
Is this a good place to wrap up?
It totally is.
I do have to go party with some farmers after this.
Oh, that does not sound like it sucks. Farmers, though.
We're going to go turn up the beats. Thank you. I know. We can...
There we go. I was like, you ain't going with those boots on.
Well
It's too muddy
played,
out
Howard.
there.
Well
Yeah,
played.
cut it off. Let's go home.
Yeah.
See ya.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, Heath, thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining
Thanks for
us.
having me.
was
This was a
great.
blast.
That
It
was a
was.
blast. Onward and upward.
Adios.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Corporate Caffeine podcast, please help us help you by subscribing. I also hope you'll find us on social media. You can follow me, Dacia Coffee, and my company, The Marketing Blender, by searching us on your favorite platform or checking out the show notes for the links. We bring this to you because we envision a business world full of meaning, connection, and prosperity for us all. Until next time, onward and upward.